What if one of the most famous paintings in history, admired by millions and studied for centuries, was actually hiding secrets so profound that they could change everything we thought we knew about art, religion, and even the destiny of humankind? Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper is not just another Renaissance masterpiece. It is a timeless enigma, frozen on the walls of Santa Maria delle Grazie in Milan since 1498, and still capable of sparking debates, conspiracies, and mysteries today. But, before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. When you first look at The Last Supper, it seems to be a straightforward depiction of the dramatic moment when Jesus announces that one of his disciples will betray him before dawn. Yet, if you stay with me until the end, you'll realize that this image is far from simple. Leonardo captured more than just a biblical scene. He wove into it perspective, emotion, and movement in ways that were revolutionary for the 15th century. Has this ever happened to you? You glance at something familiar, but suddenly you notice a detail that makes you wonder if there's more to the story than meets the eye. That is exactly the sensation countless viewers and scholars have had when looking at this painting for over 500 years. What makes The Last Supper so enduring is not only the artistic genius on display but also the haunting possibility that hidden messages lie beneath the surface. Over the centuries, whispers have grown into full-blown theories. Could Da Vinci have embedded coded references to the Holy Grail, the sacred chalice said to have held Christ's blood? Was he secretly communicating with us across time, planting clues in brushstrokes and shadows that only the most attentive eyes could uncover? What you're about to discover might surprise you, because many believe this work contains answers to questions no one dared to ask openly in Leonardo's day. Think for a moment about the weight of such a claim. The Holy Grail, long considered the most elusive treasure in Christian history, has been sought by kings, knights, and explorers for centuries. To imagine that its whereabouts or its true meaning could be concealed in Da Vinci's masterpiece adds an entirely new dimension to how we view the painting. Yet, despite the fascination and relentless investigation, no universally accepted proof of a code has ever been found. That tension between possibility and uncertainty is exactly why The Last Supper continues to captivate us. And there's something else. Leonardo was not just a painter. He was a thinker, an observer of the human soul and the natural world. His works are full of subtle details, gestures, and patterns that speak louder than words. In The Last Supper, each disciple reacts with a unique emotion: shock, denial, confusion, or fear. Jesus himself sits calm at the center, creating a perfect symmetry that draws the eye. But look closer, and you may begin to see more than what is obvious. Is it mere coincidence that certain objects and figures align in strange ways? Or was Da Vinci deliberately arranging his masterpiece as a puzzle for us to decode? This is why so many have come to believe that The Last Supper is more than art. It is a message from the past, a canvas that might contain hidden truths about faith, betrayal, and mysteries yet unsolved. The whispers of secret societies, the allure of the Grail, the idea that Da Vinci himself belonged to circles of knowledge forbidden in his time. All of these threads converge in this one extraordinary painting. Stay with me, because we are only beginning to scratch the surface. What lies beneath the brushstrokes of The Last Supper may change the way you see both Leonardo da Vinci and history itself. In the next part, we'll dive deeper into the layers of conspiracy, symbolism, and secrets that continue to surround this masterpiece, revealing why its mysteries are as alive today as they were over 5 centuries ago. If you enjoy uncovering hidden truths and exploring the mysteries behind history's greatest works, make sure to subscribe to the channel. That way, you'll always have a place to return to whenever curiosity calls and new revelations are waiting to be discovered. Throughout history, the very mention of the Holy Grail has stirred the imagination of seekers, historians, and dreamers alike. Within the walls of Santa Maria delle Grazie, many believe Leonardo da Vinci embedded far more than brushstrokes of genius. According to whispers carried through centuries, he may have left behind coded signals pointing toward the Grail's hidden truth. The idea is magnetic, a secret buried in plain sight, veiled beneath layers of paint and symbolism, waiting for the right mindset to uncover it. Some even connect Leonardo to the Priory of Sion, a secretive brotherhood said to guard sacred knowledge, suggesting his work was not just art, but a map of transformation, an invitation into a journey where faith, mystery, and revelation intertwine. Yet, despite decades of searching, no undeniable proof of these codes has ever surfaced. Researchers, conspiracy theorists, and curious minds have traced every line and shadow of the Last Supper, convinced that something must be hidden there. But the canvas remains silent, its secrets, if they exist, beyond reach. This is the paradox of Da Vinci, a man whose genius provokes us to question not only what we see, but also how we interpret it. Perhaps the absence of clear evidence is what makes the mystery so enduring. After all, what is more powerful, the hidden message itself, or the decision to believe one exists? This tension continues to fuel speculation, shaping our perception of Leonardo not only as a painter, but as a guardian of enigmas. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because The Last Supper is not the only work that ignites debate. Another painting, Salvator Mundi, shows Christ holding a crystal orb, his gaze serene, his hand raised in blessing. At first glance, it seems straightforward, yet beneath its surface lies another storm of controversy. Was this masterpiece truly painted by Leonardo, or was it touched by the hands of his students, his workshop, or imitators? The uncertainty transforms the painting into more than just an object of admiration. It becomes a mirror of our own doubts, choices, and the fragile line between truth and illusion. The orb itself deepens the puzzle. It does not bend or refract light in the way solid crystal naturally would. For a man so obsessed with scientific accuracy, this detail feels like a deliberate decision, a choice meant to provoke reflection. Could Leonardo have intended it as a symbol of transcendence, showing a world untouched by distortion? Or was it a clue, pointing us behind the scenes of his thought process, revealing how he blended observation with imagination? This single detail shifts the painting from mere art into a field of endless interpretations, inviting us into a mindset where every brushstroke might conceal a revelation. And perhaps that is the true power of Da Vinci, his ability to guide us into questions rather than answers, into the impact of mystery itself, whether the Grail lies hidden in a code, or whether Salvator Mundi is authentically his. The real journey is not about solving the puzzle, but about allowing ourselves to be transformed by the search. If these ideas resonate with you, write in the comments, "This makes sense to me." Share it as a way of marking your own path through these hidden truths and adding your voice to this ongoing conversation. Imagine a painting so powerful that it disappeared for centuries, only to resurface in fragments of mystery, carrying with it an aura of lost time and untold stories. Salvator Mundi is exactly that. After vanishing from records for nearly 200 years, it re-emerged in 1900, scarred by neglect and stripped of its former brilliance. When experts began the long process of restoration in 2005, what appeared was not only a fragile canvas, but also a profound revelation, a work that might hold Leonardo's hand, or perhaps only his influence. And then, in 2017, it stunned the world by selling for $450 million, becoming the most expensive painting ever sold. Yet instead of hanging in a gallery where the public could experience its impact, it is now hidden away in Saudi Arabia, locked from the eyes of millions who long to see it. This concealment adds another layer of intrigue. Why would such a treasure be kept in private, away from the collective gaze? Art thrives on connection, on the energy created when eyes meet brushstrokes, when stories are shared across time. To hide it is to transform it into a secret, an object of desire that fuels even more speculation. The decision to veil it from the world mirrors the very essence of Leonardo's mysteries, truths always just out of reach, always behind the scenes. It is almost as if the painting's journey has become part of its message. The hidden truth is sometimes not in what we see, but in what is withheld. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because the greatest controversy of Salvator Mundi is not its ownership, but the orb that Christ holds in his hand. At first glance, it appears as a flawless crystal sphere, a symbol of divine power and the world itself. But critics quickly noticed something troubling. The orb does not refract or distort the objects behind it, as real crystal naturally would. For an artist as devoted to scientific precision as Leonardo, this detail seems like a contradiction, almost a deliberate decision to defy expectation. Some argue this was an oversight, a flaw suggesting the painting was not Leonardo's work, but others see it as a revelation of mindset, a conscious choice to depict not a physical object, but a spiritual reality. In this interpretation, the orb represents a perfect world untouched by distortion, a symbol of divine clarity beyond human imperfection. If true, Leonardo was not just painting with pigment, he was painting with philosophy, embedding a vision of transformation into the very heart of the work. And so the debate continues, not just about authorship, but about intention. Was this a technical lapse, or a profound message hidden in plain sight? The impact lies in the uncertainty itself, forcing us to confront how easily truth can slip through our grasp, how every detail carries the potential for revelations we may never fully understand. If this reflection speaks to you, write in the comments, "The hidden truth is never simple." By doing so, you add your perspective to this ongoing journey of interpretation, reminding us that the search for meaning is as valuable as the answers themselves. When modern researchers turned their focus to the mysterious orb in Salvator Mundi, they used technology Leonardo could only have dreamed of, simulations of light, algorithms that test reality against imagination. What they uncovered was remarkable. The orb behaved not as solid crystal, but as if it were hollow, carved from rock crystal so pure that light passed through it without distortion. This discovery shifted the debate entirely. Instead of revealing a flaw in Leonardo's technique, it revealed his precision, his deliberate choice to capture a detail that matched both science and symbolism. Behind the scenes, this finding transformed the painting from a disputed relic into a new revelation of Leonardo's mindset. The artist was not bending reality. He was anticipating discoveries centuries ahead of his time. But the fascination with Leonardo's art doesn't stop at physics or optics. The Last Supper itself has become the heart of one of the most persistent and controversial theories of all time. The claim that Mary Magdalene sits beside Jesus, and that their closeness hints at a hidden truth about his life. Some even imagine the outline of a child subtly formed between them, a suggestion of a family concealed beneath layers of tradition and secrecy. This idea has inspired novels, films, and endless speculation because it challenges the foundations of centuries-old narratives. It's less about whether the rumor is true and more about the impact such a possibility has on our perception of history. It forces us to ask how much of what we believe is shaped by decisions made long after the events themselves. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because what fuels the controversy is not only the theory itself, but also the way Leonardo painted his figures. The person to the right of Jesus is almost certainly John the Apostle, yet his delicate features, flowing hair, and gentle posture have led countless eyes to interpret him differently. Leonardo often blurred the boundaries between masculine and feminine beauty, creating faces that carried a softness uncommon for depictions of men at the time. It was a stylistic decision, but one that opened the door to centuries of debate. In that choice, intentional or not, lies the spark of transformation, a reminder that art is never static. It evolves with the mindset of each generation that views it, absorbing new meanings, sparking new revelations, and carrying forward hidden truths we continue to uncover. That's the power of a masterpiece, not that it provides answers, but that it awakens questions. The rumors surrounding Mary Magdalene endure because they touch something deeply human, a fascination with what lies beyond the official story, with the possibility that behind the scenes of scripture and tradition, another layer of reality might exist. And perhaps that is why people return to this painting again and again, not just to admire its artistry, but to step into a dialogue that never really ends. If this perspective resonates with you, write in the comments, "I see the hidden layers." By doing so, you'll add your voice to this journey of exploration, showing how each of us perceives meaning differently when faced with mysteries that refuse to fade. For Leonardo, every brushstroke was more than art. It was a decision with consequences. To even hint at Mary Magdalene in the Last Supper would not have been seen as bold creativity, but as dangerous rebellion. In his time, such a choice could have cost him everything: his freedom, his work, even his life. This tension between genius and risk adds another layer to how we perceive him, not only as an artist, but as someone navigating the fine line between expression and survival. It's almost as if every painting became a code, where truths could only be whispered through symbols and hidden meanings. That mindset of carefully balancing revelation with protection is what makes his work feel alive even today, a reminder that transformation often comes from daring choices made behind the scenes. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because Leonardo's secrets don't end with the Last Supper. One of the most fascinating discoveries in recent years came from the Mona Lisa, a painting already surrounded by endless speculation. French scientist Pascal Cotte spent over a decade analyzing it with state-of-the-art technology, peeling back the layers of paint as if lifting a veil from history. What he found stunned the art world. Beneath the familiar face that has captivated millions was another portrait, a hidden woman entirely different from the one we know. This hidden image was not the Lisa Gherardini we have been taught to recognize, but someone slimmer, with different eyes, less hair, a garment that revealed more, and, perhaps most surprising of all, a genuine smile. This revelation turned the painting into more than a masterpiece. It became a journey into Leonardo's process, exposing the decisions, revisions, and shifts of intention that shaped the final image. It's as if the Mona Lisa we see is only the surface, while behind it lies the trace of another story, another identity, another truth waiting to be understood. The impact of this discovery is profound. It challenges the very certainty of history, forcing us to reconsider what we thought was fixed. Was Leonardo experimenting, transforming one vision into another until he reached something that felt eternal? Or did he deliberately conceal one portrait beneath another, leaving future generations to uncover it as part of his design? The hidden truth here is not only about who the woman was, but about how Leonardo approached his art, as something fluid, evolving, alive. And maybe that's why the Mona Lisa continues to hold us in its gaze, because behind the face we all recognize lies a reminder that nothing is ever as simple as it seems, and that the greatest revelations often appear when we dare to look deeper. If this perspective resonates with you, write in the comments, "I see beyond the surface." By sharing this, you connect with the idea that every mystery holds more than one layer, and that discovery itself is part of the journey. What makes Leonardo so captivating is not just the brilliance of what he left us, but the layers of transformation hidden beneath his work. When experts like Andrew Graham Dixon examined the Mona Lisa and confirmed that another woman lies beneath the surface, it felt less like a correction of history and more like a revelation of mindset. Leonardo was not satisfied with capturing a single truth. He redefined it, painted over it, reshaped it, until he found something that transcended time. The result is not simply Lisa Gherardini, but a fusion of ideas, a portrait that holds contradictions and mysteries within the same frame. It is a reminder that behind the scenes of every masterpiece lies a series of decisions, moments of doubt, reinvention, and hidden truths that speak as loudly as the final image itself. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because if Leonardo could alter faces and conceal identities, what else might he have hidden in plain sight? One of the most startling claims comes not from the Mona Lisa, but from the Last Supper. A Vatican researcher suggested that this painting encodes not only symbolic gestures and sacred stories, but even a prophecy of the end of the world. By studying the repetition of the number 3, the windows above Christ, and the grouping of apostles, she proposed that Leonardo left behind a date, March 21, 4006, To some, it sounds like the product of imagination, a wild projection placed upon an already mysterious canvas. But to others, it reflects the possibility that Leonardo saw art not only as representation, but as a medium of timeless communication, messages across centuries, cloaked in symmetry and proportion. It's easy to dismiss such theories as exaggerations, yet they reveal something essential about Leonardo's impact. His works invite speculation because they feel alive, full of echoes, and unfinished thoughts, almost as if he intended us to question, to search, to challenge the boundaries of what we see. The very act of decoding, whether successful or not, becomes part of the journey his paintings demand. And in that sense, the prophecy theory is less about predicting destruction and more about transformation, about forcing us to confront the fragility of human certainty and the hidden truth that time itself may be part of the canvas. What's striking is how these interpretations push us to consider not only the art, but our own relationship with mystery. They remind us that meaning is never fixed. It evolves with each generation that dares to look deeper. And perhaps that is Leonardo's greatest gift. Not answers, but questions that travel across centuries, reshaping our mindset as we engage with them. If this reflection speaks to you, write in the comments, "I question what I see." It's a way of marking your own journey into these revelations, showing that the search for hidden meaning is as important as the truths we think we uncover. The fascination with numbers has always carried a certain weight, especially in works of art that invite symbolic interpretation. In the Last Supper, the repetition of threes has been read as more than just compositional balance. 3 windows, 4 groups of 3 apostles, the very rhythm of the scene pulsing with this structure. All of it has led some to believe Leonardo was hinting at a prophetic code. For those who embrace this idea, the number is not coincidence, but message, a cipher for something larger than the biblical moment he depicted. It was suggested that Leonardo embedded an apocalyptic vision into the canvas, foreseeing a catastrophic flood destined to erase humanity on March 21, 4006. Whether one views this as hidden truth or imaginative projection, the impact lies in how it reframes the painting, not just as an image of betrayal and faith, but as a message stretching across millennia. This theory, as wild as it may sound, touches on something profound about Leonardo's art, its ability to hold layers of meaning that evolve with the mindset of each new observer. To believe that he foresaw the end of humanity is to see him not just as a painter or scientist, but as a visionary who used his genius to reach into the future. And even if the prophecy is more fantasy than fact, it reminds us that Leonardo's works serve as mirrors, reflecting the anxieties, decisions, and questions of every generation that studies them. They transform depending on what we are looking for, becoming maps of our own inner journeys as much as they are relics of the past. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because the theme of hidden layers is not confined to the Last Supper. When researchers turned their attention to the Adoration of the Magi, one of Leonardo's earlier pieces, they uncovered scenes that had been buried for centuries beneath the surface of paint. Infrared scans revealed something unexpected, not the quiet reverence of kings visiting the newborn Christ, but chaotic battle scenes, horses clashing, men crawling, ruins of structures that looked like fragments of another world. The discovery felt like stepping behind the scenes of Leonardo's mind, witnessing the unfinished stages where his imagination wrestled between harmony and conflict. Instead of a stable or manger, the figures of Mary and the infant Jesus appear in the middle of disorder, surrounded by crumbling architecture and unsettling faces. It is as if Leonardo was experimenting with a radical vision, placing the Nativity not in peace, but in the midst of destruction. The hidden truth revealed through technology challenges our assumptions, showing us a painter who constantly shifted directions, who was willing to abandon one reality for another in pursuit of a deeper impact. This unfinished battle beneath the surface adds complexity to how we read the painting. Was Leonardo suggesting that, even in the moment of divine revelation, humanity was still bound to its cycles of violence and chaos? Or was this simply part of his process, a layer of thought later covered but never fully erased? The very presence of these concealed images speaks to the journey of creation itself, where transformation is constant and every decision leaves a trace. If this exploration resonates with you, write in the comments, "I search beneath the surface." It's a way of affirming that art, like life, always holds more than what first meets the eye. What makes the adoration of the Magi so unsettling is not only its unfinished state, but the atmosphere it carries. Instead of the calm, reverent nativity we might expect, the painting is alive with tension, faces twisted in strange expressions, bodies moving chaotically, ruins rising behind the figures as if civilization itself were crumbling. Leonardo's choice to surround the sacred moment with disorder suggests that he saw revelation not as something that arrives in peace, but as something disruptive, shaking the foundations of what people believed to be stable. It was a transformation of the traditional mindset, a decision to challenge convention and confront viewers with a hidden truth. Even in the presence of divinity, humanity remains caught between destruction and redemption. Adding to this strangeness are the architectural elements scholars believe resemble fragments of Egypt. To find hints of Egyptian design in a Christian nativity is puzzling, almost an intentional blurring of timelines and cultures. It's as if Leonardo was weaving together symbols from different civilizations, creating a visual riddle that stretches beyond history into something universal. Egypt, long associated with mystery, transformation, and ancient wisdom, becomes a backdrop that forces us to think about continuity, about how truths resurface across time, wearing different faces but carrying the same impact. By placing biblical figures in such a setting, Leonardo may have been suggesting that sacred stories are part of a larger human journey, not confined to one place or one moment. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because Leonardo's fascination with layering hidden imagery appears again in the Virgin of the Rocks. Two versions of this painting exist, each haunting in its beauty, but X-ray scans revealed that both canvases conceal alternate visions beneath their polished surfaces. Beneath the London version, researchers found sketches that showed the Virgin Mary in a different stance, her posture more commanding, and surrounded by winged angels leaning toward the infant Christ. These unseen figures changed the tone of the work entirely, shifting it from a quiet, intimate moment into something more celestial and monumental. The discovery of these buried images gives us a glimpse into Leonardo's process behind the scenes. He didn't treat his paintings as fixed ideas but as living organisms, evolving through layers of thought, correction, and transformation. Each hidden sketch feels like a whisper of the artist's inner debate, a trace of the decisions he made and then concealed. To see them is to understand that even masterpieces are not born perfect. They are built through uncertainty, experimentation, and the courage to change direction. Perhaps that is why these revelations resonate so deeply today. They remind us that creation is a journey, not a destination, and that the hidden truth often lies in the stages we don't see. Leonardo left behind not just finished works, but entire landscapes of intention, revision, and possibility beneath them, waiting to be uncovered centuries later. If this exploration strikes a chord with you, write in the comments, "I uncover the unseen." It's a way of affirming that you, too, recognize the power of what lies beneath the surface, both in art and in life. When the Virgin of the Rocks was first commissioned, it wasn't simply intended as a beautiful painting. It was created to serve as an altarpiece, a sacred centerpiece for a chapel dedicated to the Virgin Mary and her Immaculate Conception. This context already frames the work with an aura of devotion and symbolism, but Leonardo, as always, went far beyond expectation. Instead of a rigid and traditional depiction, he infused the scene with movement, naturalism, and mystery. Mary is not portrayed in grandeur, but in a tender moment, enveloped by rocks, shadows, and an atmosphere that seems almost otherworldly. The choice was radical, a reminder that even in sacred commissions, Leonardo made decisions that transformed familiar imagery into something layered with depth and hidden meaning. Two versions of this masterpiece survive, one in the Louvre and another in London's National Gallery. At first glance, they appear to tell the same story, but their differences reveal Leonardo's evolving mindset. The Louvre's version feels softer, bathed in warm tones that evoke a sense of harmony. The London version, by contrast, carries darker hues, a more somber and contemplative mood, as if reflecting a deeper meditation on the mystery of divinity. It's almost like witnessing two states of being, light and shadow, serenity and intensity, captured in parallel, each painting inviting a different emotional journey. These tonal distinctions remind us that art is not static. It breathes, adapts, and shifts according to the choices the artist makes along the way. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because the hidden sketches uncovered beneath the London version open a doorway into Leonardo's process. X-ray scans revealed figures and poses that never made it to the surface. Angels leaning closer to the Christ child, a Virgin Mary standing with a commanding posture, almost as if she were presiding over a celestial gathering. By omitting them in the final composition, Leonardo made a conscious decision to strip away grandeur in favor of intimacy, yet the buried figures remain like ghosts, silent witnesses to his inner debate. These revelations remind us that every masterpiece is built upon layers of uncertainty, erased lines, and choices made in pursuit of something greater. What we see on the surface is only the final mask, but beneath it lies a hidden truth. Art is transformation in motion. Leonardo's works embody this principle, showing us that perfection is never born in a single stroke. It is shaped through revisions, through the courage to discard one vision and embrace another. The impact of these discoveries goes beyond art history. It touches the way we view our own lives. Just like the hidden sketches beneath the paint, our journeys are made of decisions, false starts, and reinventions that no one sees. Yet they define the masterpiece we eventually become. If this reflection resonates with you, write in the comments, "My layers tell my story." By sharing this, you acknowledge the power of what lies beneath the surface, not only in Leonardo's creations but also in the hidden narratives of your own journey. Leonardo's brilliance has often been described as otherworldly, but what made him extraordinary might not have been perfection. It may have been what others once considered a flaw. Scholars today believe Leonardo da Vinci was dyslexic, and this possibility reshapes how we understand his genius. Dyslexia, far from being a limitation, may have been the force that guided him toward new ways of seeing and creating. While others learned to process words in a linear fashion, Leonardo's mind seemed to thrive on patterns, images, and associations, allowing him to perceive connections that went unnoticed by most. His mindset was not confined by convention, but instead nourished by a different rhythm of thought, one that favored vision over text and exploration over rigid order. Historical records reveal that he struggled with spelling, often writing the same word in multiple variations, never settling into a fixed form. This inconsistency wasn't merely a difficulty with letters. It reflected a fluidity of thought, an openness to shifting ideas without the need for rigid certainty. For Leonardo, words were imperfect tools, but images, sketches, and designs allowed him to express what language could not contain. The very thing that may have challenged him in academic settings likely pushed him into realms where imagination ruled, where art, invention, and observation could merge seamlessly. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because the hidden truth behind Leonardo's supposed dyslexia is not about weakness, but about transformation. Modern studies suggest that people with dyslexia often excel in visual thinking, pattern recognition, and problem-solving, skills that defined Leonardo's journey. His notebooks, filled with mirrored writing and drawings that feel alive with motion, illustrate a mind that thought differently, not incorrectly. The fact that he approached the world through sketches, rather than strict texts, gave him freedom to explore ideas beyond boundaries, to follow intuition where others followed instruction. This perspective invites us to reflect on the impact of difference itself. What society labels as a struggle can, in reality, become the seed of creativity, a force that pushes someone to make decisions others would never imagine. Behind the scenes of Leonardo's genius was not a perfect scholar, but a man who embraced his own way of processing the world and transformed it into beauty, science, and innovation. Perhaps this is why his art feels timeless, because it was born not out of conformity, but out of a unique lens that turned challenges into revelations. If this resonates with you, write in the comments, "I value different minds." By doing so, you affirm the idea that creativity often grows from diversity of thought, and that what seems like a limitation may carry the hidden power to change everything. When we turn our eyes to the Annunciation, painted by Leonardo in 1476, we are invited into a moment of quiet revelation. The scene itself is familiar, the Archangel Gabriel arriving to tell Mary that she will bear the Son of God. But in Leonardo's hands, what could have been a simple retelling of Scripture becomes an atmosphere of layered meaning, where every element carries weight. The Virgin is not overwhelmed or dramatized. She is calm, her presence woven seamlessly into the setting, as though divinity has entered the world not with spectacle, but with quiet certainty. This choice reflects Leonardo's mindset, an understanding that the most profound transformations often happen in silence, in stillness, in moments when time feels suspended. The garden that surrounds her is in bloom, each flower and leaf carefully chosen, symbolizing springtime and renewal. In Renaissance thought, this season was not only about nature's rebirth, but also about divine timing, a cycle in which creation unfolds with precision. To depict the Annunciation in this setting was to align Mary's conception with the very rhythm of the earth, as though the miracle was not separate from the natural world, but part of its hidden truth. Leonardo, always fascinated by nature's patterns, seemed to blur the line between the sacred and the organic, reminding us that revelation is not something distant, it is woven into the living fabric of existence. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because perhaps the most striking detail of the painting is also the easiest to miss. A single ray of light, subtle and almost invisible, falls upon Mary's raised hand. It is a delicate stroke, but it carries the entire weight of the narrative. That thin thread of illumination represents the Holy Spirit, the very instant of conception, the moment when eternity enters flesh. Leonardo's decision to place the divine in such a fragile gesture speaks volumes. Instead of grand halos or overwhelming visions, he chose a detail so quiet it might be overlooked, teaching us that the greatest impact often lies in what is understated. This approach is more than artistic, it is philosophical. It suggests that truth does not always arrive with noise, but sometimes whispers in forms we must train ourselves to notice. Behind the scenes of this work is Leonardo's conviction that beauty and divinity are revealed through harmony, not excess. In this way, the painting becomes less a narrative scene and more an invitation to look closer, to attune our vision to subtleties, to understand that transformation can begin with something as delicate as a ray of light touching the skin. If this reflection resonates with you, write in the comments, "I see the light in small things." It's a way of affirming that you too recognize how hidden truths often appear, not in grandeur, but in the quiet details that carry profound meaning. One of the most fascinating discoveries tied to Leonardo's work is not about paint or light, but about sound. In the Last Supper, Italian musician Giovanni Palla claimed to have uncovered a hidden musical code, a series of notes embedded within the arrangement of the figures, gestures, and objects on the table. At first, the idea may sound like one of those daring theories too incredible to believe. Yet when we step back and consider Leonardo's lifelong obsession with patterns, proportion, and harmony, the possibility feels less like fantasy and more like a glimpse into his way of thinking. For Leonardo, art was never confined to one form. Painting, science, architecture, and music were threads of the same tapestry. By tracing lines through key symbols, the loaves of bread, the placement of hands, the spread of arms, Palla found alignments that matched the structure of musical notation. It is as though the painting itself were a silent score, waiting for someone centuries later to hear what the eyes alone could not reveal. This idea shifts the Last Supper from being a purely visual masterpiece into something multisensory, a hidden truth encoded not in words, but in harmony. If correct, it means Leonardo left behind a melody designed to resonate across time, a soundscape hidden behind the scenes of one of the world's most studied works of art. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because the detail that makes this discovery even more compelling is the way the notes had to be read. They were not arranged in the traditional left-to-right sequence we might expect. Instead, they only made sense when inverted and read backward, exactly like Leonardo's mirrored writing. This deliberate inversion feels like more than coincidence. It is a reflection of his mindset, his decision to challenge convention, and create systems only accessible to those willing to see the world differently. To play this code forward is to hear nonsense, but to reverse it is to step into Leonardo's logic, to walk the same mental path he might have followed when he encoded it. The impact of this revelation is profound, because it reminds us that Da Vinci's genius was not about keeping knowledge locked away, but about inviting us into a journey of discovery. The code itself, if genuine, may not be as important as the act of searching, the realization that meaning often lies hidden beneath layers of detail. By concealing a hymn within a painting, Leonardo may have been showing us that art can transcend boundaries, transforming vision into sound, mystery into revelation. It is an idea that changes how we think about creativity itself, less as a finished product and more as an unfolding experience, a dialogue between artist and observer across centuries. If this perspective resonates with you, write in the comments, "I hear the hidden harmony." By doing so, you affirm the idea that meaning is never limited to what we see, but also to what we are willing to listen for in the silences between. When Giovanni Palla finally arranged the decoded notes into sequence, what emerged was not a random pattern, but a solemn hymn, a short composition lasting about 40 seconds. Its tone was heavy, almost like a requiem, carrying the weight of something sacred and timeless. Imagine for a moment what it means if this melody truly originated from Leonardo's mind, a fragment of sound conceived half a millennium ago, resting invisibly within paint until the right eyes uncovered it. It transforms the Last Supper into more than an image. It becomes a score, a portal where vision and sound intertwine, proving once again that Leonardo's creations were never bound to one dimension. When performed on the organ, the piece reaches its fullest expression. The slow, resonant notes seem to echo through sacred spaces, fitting perfectly with the religious subject of the painting itself. This choice of instrument feels almost destined, as if Leonardo had designed the music for that deep, contemplative sound that stirs both intellect and spirit. What makes this so powerful is not just the music itself, but the mindset it reflects. The decision to hide harmony within silence, to leave behind a message that could only be discovered centuries later. In this way, the painting becomes an act of faith in the future, a hidden truth meant for those willing to look beyond appearances. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because what gives credibility to this discovery is not only the melody, but also the acknowledgement it received. Leonardo scholar Alessandro Vezzosi, an expert who has dedicated his life to studying the master, supported the possibility that Palla may have uncovered Da Vinci's first genuine code. For years, theories about hidden messages in Leonardo's works were dismissed as exaggerations, products of imagination rather than fact. But here, for the first time, was a tangible result, something that could be played, heard, and felt. It was no longer only speculation, but an experience that touched the senses directly. The impact of this revelation is enormous. If true, it shows us how Leonardo's journey was guided by an understanding of art as universal language, where painting, music, and science were never separate but deeply connected. It reveals a mindset that sought to blur boundaries, to create experiences that were not just visual, but immersive, transformative, and alive. Whether the hymn was meant as devotion, a private experiment, or a secret offering to God, it pulls us behind the scenes of Leonardo's genius and invites us to hear his voice across time. If this vision resonates with you, write in the comments, "I hear Leonardo's voice." By doing so, you join the reflection that even in silence, the past speaks through hidden harmonies waiting to be uncovered. Even with the hymn reconstructed and played, the true meaning of Leonardo's hidden code remains shrouded in uncertainty. Was it a devotional act, a secret prayer disguised as art, Or perhaps a symbolic gesture meant to remind us that harmony itself is divine? Some speculate it was an experiment, a way for Leonardo to test the boundaries of perception, embedding sound within silence, as if to challenge the limits of human understanding. Others wonder if it was never meant to be discovered at all, a private offering concealed behind paint, waiting only for the passage of centuries to reveal it. This ambiguity is what makes the code so powerful. It resists definitive answers, leaving us suspended between wonder and curiosity, forcing us to reflect on the hidden truths that might lie beneath every detail of his creations. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because whether or not we solve the puzzle of the hymn, what truly matters is the legacy it represents. Leonardo's works, from the Last Supper to Salvator Mundi, from the Mona Lisa to his notebooks filled with impossible inventions, continue to inspire awe, not because they give us clarity, but because they open doors to endless possibilities. His art is not static. It is alive, constantly reshaped by the interpretations, theories, and revelations of those who engage with it. Each generation projects its own mindset, its own fears and hopes, onto his work, turning it into a mirror of humanity's evolving journey. The impact of this is extraordinary. It shows us that Leonardo was not only painting for his own time, but for the future, for us. Behind the scenes of every brushstroke lies a decision to embed complexity, to invite questioning, to ensure that no single truth could exhaust the depth of his vision. That is why, even centuries later, his creations remain fertile ground for speculation, debate, and discovery. They are not relics of the past, but living companions on our path of transformation, guiding us to see, to think, and to question differently. Perhaps this is why the mysteries endure. The unanswered questions keep his work alive, reminding us that certainty is not the point. Curiosity is. Leonardo's genius was not about delivering final answers, but about igniting a fire that keeps us searching, keeps us listening, keeps us uncovering hidden harmonies in places we least expect. If this reflection connects with you, write in the comments, "I live in the mystery." By sharing it, you acknowledge that wonder itself is part of the journey, and that the greatest revelations often come from embracing the questions that refuse to be resolved. If you've made it all the way here, it tells me that these mysteries speak to you just as much as they do to me. That's why I'd love for you to subscribe, so you don't miss the next journey we take together into hidden truths and timeless revelations. And if this exploration resonated with you, leave a comment saying, "I'm with you until the end." It's a simple way of letting me know you walked through every layer of this story. Don't forget to tap the like button too. It helps keep this conversation alive and reminds me that these reflections are reaching the right people. And if your curiosity is still awake, there's a video right here that complements everything we've uncovered today. Click and continue with me over there.